Hello, welcome back to the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1,001 movies you must see before you die. 1935's The Triumph of the Will. This is going to be a serious video, I feel. I want to give you some personal context here about the subject of this documentary. When I was a kid in primary school, our teacher called us to the corner to come and sit down because he wanted to talk to us about something. And as we were sitting down, we're all joking amongst each other and stuff, and a kid across the way looked at me and did this thing with his hands, and I kind of laughed and I returned the favour and I went like that. And our teacher sat us down because he'd seen us doing this, and he said to us that when you're doing that, you're making a mockery of the millions of people who died because of that man. And he was an amazing teacher, and instead of shouting at us and telling us to stop doing that, which no doubt would have wanted us to do it even more, he sat us down and told us in a very blunt way exactly why we shouldn't be doing that. And I did feel ashamed in that moment. And that was the moment I think I realized that the whole Hitler thing was something not to be taken lightly, and was something that was incredibly horrible, and I realized the gravity of the situation at that moment. But even now, at 28 years of age, I almost feel, I mean, not ashamed, but disappointed in myself that I hadn't taken the time yet to really delve into what this man did. Now, do you need to delve into what Adolf Hitler did, in his time during World War II, before World War II? No, I mean, it's arguable. How much do you need to know about the horrors of the past? I'm certainly someone who sticks his head in the sand about these things. It was horrible, millions of people died. What can I really, what's the point of me learning about all of that stuff and delving into it? It's just going to make me feel shit, and, what's the point? Then there's a side of it that, you're honouring the memory of the people who did die by knowing what happened and having that knowledge. That's a real kind of grey area kind of debate, I think, whether you should know about that stuff, whether you shouldn't, whether it's good or bad that you don't. And, when I was a teenager, I learned about Hitler in school. I mean, that's History 101, learning about World War II and Hitler and all that kind of stuff. But I wasn't interested, I'd go along with it. Oh yeah, Hitler, write down the notebook. But I'm thinking about, what film I'm going to watch when I get home from school. I'm thinking about anything else but history. And that's a whole other thing in my head, is that it's so hard to teach kids sometimes, because me, myself, when I was in school, the last thing I wanted to do was learn about stuff. I just wanted to watch films and wrestle and do anything else but learn about anything. It's quite hard. I mean, there are kids who get into it and they embrace the learning. But I tell you what, if I had the chance now to kind of just go back, start again from the beginning of primary school, but having the mind I have now, I would be soaking up everything. I would be learning everything. I would love it. But retrospectively, I think a lot of people could probably say that. But suffice it to say, my knowledge on Hitler, on World War II, on so many things is minute. I just know that I knew what his views were and how he had ordered the execution of millions of people in the Holocaust, right? And so this film, The Triumph of the Will, I'm getting there. It documents the 1934 Nazi Party rally in Nuremberg in Germany, where Hitler arrived and kind of had this week-long event speaking to all the people in the Nazi Party and all that kind of thing. And again, I don't know all the details and all the names and everything, and the documentary had a lot of kind of subtitles telling you who everyone was in the film. Sometimes those subtitles went a bit too quick and I couldn't even read them. But it kind of shows the effect that he had on people in a way, and it is very much a propaganda film. It is very much this kind of, this is why the Nazi Party is great, and it was filmed in 1934, released in 1935. This is before World War II, before the real atrocities began. And it's just a really interesting time capsule, I think, of what Hitler was doing at the time, the power he had over the people. The opening scenes of the film, we see him land and get out of the plane when he arrives in Nuremberg, and these shots of the kids, you know, hailing him and kind of looking so excited to see Hitler. And when you look at an image like that in 2016, in 2015, 2014, I mean, you know, going all the way back to the 40s, it's a pretty kind of chilling image to see all these young kids so excited and enamored with this man. And, you know, the swastika is all over the film, the imagery is all over the film. At times I felt like I was watching a film, you know, a narrative film, not a documentary. You see these huge scenes of all the people of the Nazi party amassed in these huge arenas, you know, and this huge, like, 100-foot, you know, eagle swastika sign. It looks like a matte painting from a film. It doesn't look like real life, but it was. And the enormity of it, the scale of it, almost moved me to tears at a few moments. It was overwhelming. And there's a moment where they're kind of holding this kind of ceremony to honor some of the dead, and just the amount of people there is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of people congregate in this area, and I have to say that the film is shot amazingly well. And this is another thing that is quite interesting about the film. I feel it was directed by a woman, Leni Riefenstahl. And she was a female director, a female actress, and Hitler had kind of set his sights on her directing this film for him. He wanted her to record this week-long rally in Nuremberg. He wanted almost to set this thing up as kind of a, you know, it was kind of, you know, the film and the rally, you know, it very much went hand in hand. Riefenstahl kind of had the cooperation of the Nazi Party and all the people there to kind of build the camera tracks and all the, you know, dig holes in the ground of the stage where Hitler was talking so she could get the angles that she wanted. Again, laying down the tracks, all that kind of stuff. She had a huge crew, over 30 cameramen, and you know, it went hand in hand, I think. You know, I mean, it's so calculated in terms of, because when you watch it, I mean, it's staggering the amount of angles that she has and the way that it's edited. You know, it doesn't feel stale when you're looking at the visual of it, where Hitler's giving a speech and then we cut to the crowd and there's these shots of the, you know, the swastika and the deep focus, and then we'll cut back to Hitler from another angle and we'll see it from the back, from the side, and we'll see another shot where all the people are moving. I mean, it's unbelievably shot. And that's another great debate. You know, can you judge this film from the visuals artistically, or do you have to let the politics of it and the history of it colour how you view it? And for me, absolutely. I think it is one of the greatest documentaries I've ever seen from a visual standpoint, and from a way that it captures an event, a moment in time. And I think it's an important film because it captures that event, that moment in time, and it really, I mean, it gives you an all-access pass to what Hitler was doing at that time. And it's kind of, it was mind-blowing to see, to be honest. I mean, everyone's seen Hitler's speeches, things like that, and seen clips of it, but to see him really, you know, let loose in these speeches, and the sweat pouring off his face, and the way he's gesticulating, and the way that he is saying these things that you could say quite calmly, but he is saying it with such vitriol and aggression. Let me get my words out. It's captivating in the most horrifying way, because, you know, there's nothing in the film that is quite anti-Semitic, I don't feel. And I was reading up kind of like reviews of the film from both the time it came out and afterwards. Roger Ebert has said that he feels like it was quite a calculated move to not have any mention of anti-Semitism in the film. And there is kind of moments where Hitler's talking about, you know, the German people and the superior race in a way, kind of, you know. I don't know how good the subtitles were in the translation, but he definitely talks about, or at least references at one point, you know, the idea of this, you know, the blood and the race and things like that. But Jewish people aren't really mentioned, I don't think. So, but I mean, we all know where this was going. We all know where this was headed. So you can't discount that knowledge, you know. I mean, again, even me with my limited knowledge, I know what was going to happen following this and what was about to happen, World War II and the Holocaust. You know, you can't take that out of the equation. I don't know if I'd ever watch this film again, but again, it was beautifully shot, and an important film maybe for female directors. You know, this is a woman who directed this incredible film. It looks amazing, and it's an important document of the time. She has said many times that she was not a member of the Nazi Party or a sympathizer, and that she didn't quite know the lengths and the depths of what Hitler's ideologies were when she made the film, and all that kind of thing. And she had no idea about the atrocities that were to come and things like that. Other people have said she wasn't a Nazi sympathizer. Other people said she was an active member of the rally. She denies that. She says that she was just there to film it. In fact, when Hitler approached her, she said, "No, get this guy to do it. I don't know anything about the Nazi Party, so I wouldn't know what to film. You know, it wouldn't turn out very well." And Hitler was like, "Well, that's what I want. I want someone to make an artistically satisfying film without the trying to get all the key members of the Nazi Party and stuff. I want a kind of an outsider's view and things like that." But I don't know. Certainly she had a talent for making films, and apparently the 2-hour-long documentary represents about 3% of the footage that she shot for the film. So like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of stuff that was shot, and she spent 6 months editing it and stuff. And again, the editing is phenomenal. There's a really, really interesting sequence where Hitler's walking around and he's shaking the hands of the people at this one of the rallies, and I mean, and then it shows some other people shooting off a cannon behind these huge, like, looks like 150-foot swastika flags, and they're firing off the thing, boom, and it's intercut with Hitler shaking the hands of all these people, and he's giving them this dead-eye stare, just shaking the hand, boom, gun going off, shaking the hand. And to me it was almost like, with every shake of the hand someone's getting killed. Like, obviously, I mean, I don't know what was, if any kind of unsavory kind of out of the public eye killings were going on at the time. I have no idea. As far as I'm aware, that stuff happened with World War II, but I don't know. But just, again, knowing all the knowledge of what went on to happen after this, it really does seem like, with every hand Hitler was shaking, with every connection that he was bridging, with every kind of person out there he was getting on his side, it was just adding up to the power that he would have, and the lives would be lost and these guns firing off. I mean, I'm sure that wasn't the intention, but the way it was edited, man, it really made me think. And yeah, it's a long film, and Roger Ebert as well has said that he thinks that it's like far too long and dull and all this kind of thing, and he had once said that it was one of the, if you viewed it kind of without looking at all the politics of it, it's one of the greatest documentaries ever made. He then went back on that and said that that was, maybe not the best thing to say, and that it isn't a very good film, and that the film as a propaganda film is only good enough to kind of win over the people who are true believers anyway. So yeah, I mean, I have to say that I hate to say it, I was entertained by the cinematography aspect of it, and just thought that it was so well shot, but there was always that that feeling of dread inside me at knowing everything else, even in the limited capacity that I did have knowledge of all the things that happened in World War II. But yeah, and then Riefenstahl herself, she this effectively ended her career after World War II, and I don't think she made many films after that, and was very much ostracized. I don't know how rightfully so, but certainly it's an important film regardless, and I do think it's a film you should see. So is it a film you must see before you die? Yes. And here's a reason, outside of the fact that it's shot well, which almost seems like such a horrible thing to say, like, oh, it's shot well, really? And does it matter if it's shot well? I almost felt like it was tragic. I mean, obviously it's tragic, but I almost felt like it was tragic that this woman was such a great filmmaker, and it was kind of, it went to the wrong area to be used, but at the same time, I do think that it's important that this film was made, because it does give you a glimpse into a very important moment in history, or part of this very important stretch of history with Hitler in Germany and everything like that. There are moments where you see him kind of giving these speeches, and I mean, literally the camera is like at foot level up, pointing up at him and stuff. It's showing him to be this monstrous kind of well, maybe not monstrous to the people at the time, certainly to us it seems monstrous, but at the time probably, I mean, it makes him look larger than life. It makes him look so much more powerful just from that camera angle, looking straight up. There's a real extreme angle at one point of him, and yeah, it was a hell of a film in a lot of ways. And is it a film you must see before you die? Yes, because when the film was done, I wasn't satisfied with that as kind of my knowledge of Hitler going into this video and review. So I looked up things and read things about him, and kind of did a little kind of brushing up, I suppose. And I almost cried reading some of the stuff, you know, the millions of lives that were executed, you know, and then the lives that were lost just because of World War II in general. You know, you're talking, I mean, it's the biggest death toll in the history of mankind, you know, just tens of millions of people. And again, I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but certainly Hitler was a central figure of all of that in terms of orchestrating, you know, everything that happened. And yeah, it was, I don't know. People can say that, you know, time has passed and things like that, but the thing with World War II and Hitler is that it's not in the, you know, the immediate past, but it's still close enough to all of us right now that, you know, it's only a few generations back. It's still within kind of, you know, not living memory, but it's there, you know. Certainly I have grandparents who were alive at that point, and that kind of is, it's interesting, it really is. And again, we see films, we see, it was the era when, you know, pictures, videos, you know, were there, so we get to see this documentary and see him, you know, giving his speeches in live motion and things like that. And you get a much more kind of a much bigger picture painted for you when you look at history like that. I mean, if you were to talk about people, you know, like in the 1300, 1400 and wars that happened then, yeah, it's horrible, and yeah, millions of lives were lost, but you don't get like video footage, you don't get the real sense of it, you just get, you know, paintings and things like that. And when history moves that far back, it becomes more blurry, more hazy, more hard to kind of reach out and grab and feel something about. But with Hitler and World War II, I still think it's quite fresh. And so yeah, for me, it's a film I must see before you die, because it enabled me to kind of think to myself, I should know more about this. And I looked up stuff, and it was horrible, but I feel like I need to really know what happened and to read as much as I can about it. And I'm not going to be going out and buying books. I'm not going to be going out and, you know, really educate myself on it. But I am certainly going to, you know, look at documentaries, films, and you know, and kind of try and digest more of the information and have more of a solid grounding on all the facts of that, or at least, you know, the facts that exist, because I think it is important to know these things, especially, like I said, with it being in kind of recent history, kind of. So yeah, I mean, the film itself, you know, is unbelievable. I mean, it's such a strong propaganda film. It is made to win you over, or to, you know, to win you over at the time. Certainly it doesn't have the effect now, and it's quite chilling just to hear Hitler talking about how, you know, we will rule for the next 1,000 years and everything, and knowing where it was going. It's a tough pill to swallow when you, I mean, not even when I was watching it, but when it sunk in afterwards and I was reading up stuff, and, you know, it's such an unimaginable figure, you know, 6, 7, 8 million, 9 million people, you know, dying at that kind of the ordering of Hitler. It becomes so big that it's hard to kind of see the forest for the trees and kind of really understand what that means, I think. Which sounds crazy, but I think that's true. I think that the bigger it gets, it's harder to relate to. You know, you hear about, you know, like a young girl who dies, you know, maybe in your local town, and it's horrible. You know, you really feel for it. When millions of people, it's almost too big to imagine, too big to kind of put into some kind of, again, relatable form in your head. But when you stop and you read about it, and I saw some pictures, it's serious stuff. And yeah, I don't know if I'd ever watch The Triumph of the Will again. Certainly an important film, and I think it's one people should see. It's not a very entertaining film, you know, and it does drag. There are speeches, but a lot of it is just capturing the movement of the rally, literally, the people, you know, the marches and everything. I mean, a lot of it is almost like a silent film, although you do hear all the, you know, Heil Hitler and all that kind of stuff. You hear, you know, people cheering and chanting and smiling. Again, lots of close-ups, people's smiling faces, and the politicians and the people looking up at Hitler as he's giving the speeches with almost like a loving look in their eyes, and you know, the standing ovations that he's getting. It's interesting, and to leave you on perhaps somewhat of a lighter note, there is I don't know if this might be even darker, but there's a moment towards the end where Hitler's walking through this hall to give the final speech, and I tell you what, it looks almost beat for beat, you know, frame specific to the end of Star Wars when they're walking out for the celebration at the end. I mean, I'll try and put up some kind of picture comparison. Maybe it doesn't turn out as kind of exact as I thought in my head when I saw the film, but I tell you what, that reminded me very much to the end of Star Wars, which is quite interesting. And George Lucas has said that this film influenced him with Attack of the Clones and kind of the shots he used of all the stormtroopers and stuff. And we definitely see that influence in films. You know, Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. There's a moment, I think, with Saruman and Wormtongue as they're looking out over the, you know, over the masses. You know, and to see that amount of people in the film, The Triumph of the Will, was quite staggering. And to see how this man Hitler had you know, politicked his way into being this central powerful figure where everyone is just so enamored with him and in love with him, and willing to follow him to the bitter end no matter what. Like, the people who talk to him, they're just, you know, we're with you till the end. It's just, it's crazy how one person can really can attain that amount of power. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I knew this wasn't going to be a short video, so there you go, The Triumph of the Will. Next time, in the next video, we'll be talking about another kind of Hitler kind of film, but on a completely different other end of the spectrum, The Great Dictator by Charlie Chaplin. Worth noting that when I watched The Great Dictator, me and Connie talk about it, that was like a month ago. So here in this video, I'm kind of a lot more serious about it, and I wanted to put these two videos next to each other for some reason. And I think in the video coming up next time, episode 55, I do say that now I want to go and learn more about Hitler, and I didn't really do that, but now I have with this documentary, and I'm glad I have, but it's not a good kind of glad. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Leave your comments down below. Please be respectful with them, and considerate, and I'll see you in the next one.